Hi everyone, welcome to e-learning tuition. Today we are going to be learning what exponents are. Now, you're going to ask yourself, an exponent or a power, or is it the same thing? An exponent, or you can call it a power, is a mathematical operation that basically means repeated multiplication, where you are repeating the same number that is being multiplied several times by the power or the exponent. For example, if we look at the xn, now x is basically the base number, okay? And then n is going to be called the exponent, or we call it a power. So when we refer to xn, it basically means x is raised to the power n. Now let's look at this here. We have, for example, 3 to the power 4 basically means that 3 is multiplied 4 times. So we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And if we multiply that, we get an answer of 81. So it's pretty simple. Exponents basically means that a number raised to its power, and whatever the power is, you multiply that number as many times as the power tells you to. Let's look at the laws of exponents now. Or before we go to the laws, let me give you some notes, and later on after you watch this video, you can take it down to refer to. Now, we say that we can use exponents to show repeated multiplication. If you multiply a number by itself, we could say it is the number squared. Now, if you multiply the number by itself 3 times, we say that the number is cubed, or we cube a number. Like, for example, if I had 3 times 3, it is 3 raised to the power 2, so we say it's 3 squared. 3 times 3 is equal to 9. Now, let's look at a cubed number. If I had 3 times 3 times 3, we say 3 to the power 3, or we could say 3 cubed. And 3 cubed is equal to 27, which is 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, so when you write the number of the times that the number appears, it is repeated multiplication. And we say that we call this its exponential factors. Okay, or it is in its exponential form. Right, so now let's move on to examples of how we can expand exponents. Now, if we looked at 5 squared, 5 is the base number. The exponent is 2. What that basically means is it is 5 times 5, and if we multiply that, we get the answer of 25. Now, if we look at 7 to the power, I need my glasses for that because, right, 7 to the power 3. So we say the base number is 7 and the exponent, or the power it is raised to, is 3. So if we expand it, we say it is 7 times 7 times 7. And if we multiply that together, we are going to get 343. Right, the next number that we are looking at is 4 to the power 5. The base number is 4 and the exponent is 5. So we're basically multiplying 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. So we're multiplying 5 times. And that is going to give you an answer of 1024. Right, now let's look at the laws of exponents, or we could say the rules of exponents. Now, we have the zero exponent property. That means any number to the power 0 is equal to 1. For example, if we have that it means that any number to this power is always going to be equal to 1. So, for example, if we have 5 to the power 0, it's going to be equal to 1. If we have 7 to the power 0, it's going to be equal to 1. Even if we have 728 to the power 0, the answer is still going to be 1. Okay, right. So now we have the exponent property. That means any number to the power 1 is always going to be the number itself. Okay, so it's always now the number itself is called the base number. Now, for example, 7 to the power 1 is 7. If we had 256 to the power 1, the answer is going to be 256. Right, let's look at another law. So we have the negative exponent property. The negative exponent property basically means that we have x to the power minus n. So now this means that the inverse applies. So the inverse means that we are going to take 1 divided by x to the power n. Now, if we had to write that, we are going to say 1 over x to the power n. Okay, so let's look at this now. When we have a negative property, we apply the inverse. Now, for example, if we had 3 to the power negative 3, we are saying 1 divided by 3 to the power 3. Now, let's look at this. We write it as a fraction. It is 1 divided by 3 to the power 3. So the negative falls away because we applying the inverse. Okay, right. So this basically means we are multiplying 3 times. So we say 1 divided by 3 times 3 times 3. And that would be 1 over 27. Right. Now, let's look at another power. So we have the product of power properties. Now, product means to multiply. So if we take in two base numbers that are the same, which is x to the power m times x to the power n. Now, what happens here when you see something like that? You are going to add the powers together. So we will say it is x to the power m plus n. Okay, so we're going to say product means to multiply. I'm just repeating so that you know. You can always go back later on and you can pause slides and you can copy down notes and write it down to understand it and explain it to yourself. So the best way to learn is to reteach yourself. So when you multiply exponents, the rules is to add the powers together. Right. Now, let's look at an example. So if we had 4 to the power 3 times 4 to the power 4. So that's pretty simple. What we're going to do is we are going to say the dot means times, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to say 4 to the power 3 plus 4. 3 plus 4 is 7, so we say 4 to the power 7. So now that's repeated multiplication. We are multiplying 4 7 times. And that is going to give you an answer of 16,384. Okay, right. Let's move on to a different power. So we're going to do quotients of powers property. Now this is a different property where we are dividing. If we have x to the power m divided by x to the power n. So what happens in this case is that we simply subtract the powers, right? So we're going to say x to the power m minus n. So I'm going to just give you some notes on it. We're going to say when we divide exponents, the rule is to subtract the powers. Right. Now, for example, let's do an example. If I have 5 to the power 8 divided by 5 to the power 5. Now, what happens here is that we say 5 to the power 8 subtract 5. And that is so simple now. It is 5 to the power 3. So we are multiplying 5 3 times. Right. So we say 5 times 5 times 5, and that gives you an answer of 125. Right. Now we are going to do the power of a product. Now you know that the product means to multiply. Now, in the previous examples, we always use the same base. But now we are using two different base numbers. So we are saying x times y in brackets to the power n. Now that is very simple. We use the distributive factor, distributive property. So we say x to the power n times y to the power n. Okay, so your notes on it is the power of a product means that when we have the same power but we have different bases, we multiply each base by the same power. Right. So for example, if I had in brackets 3 times 4 to the power 2, that is very simple. So it's going to be 3 to the power 2 times 4 to the power 2. Right. Now, that basically means 3 times 3 times 4 times 4. Now, if we multiply that together, we're going to get 9 times 16, and that's going to give you 144. All right. I hope you guys getting a hang of this now. It's pretty simple once you re-watch the videos all a few times. Now we are going to do the power of a power property. So now, for example, if I had x to the power n, m in brackets raised to the power n. So that is pretty simple. All we do is we take m times n and we say x to the power mn. Okay, so we have the power of a power property means that we only multiply the powers together. Now, for example, if I had 3 to the power 2 raised to the power 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to say 3 to the power 2 times 3. And that gives you 3 to the power 6. So now we do repeated multiplication and we multiply 3 6 times. So we go 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times, I'm not sure how many times I said it now, but it's going to give you 729. Right, guys, I hope that you understood the laws of exponents. I hope my video helped you. Please like and subscribe and enjoy the rest of your day. Hope to see you soon in my next video. Bye everyone.